Welcome to my channel.
Looking to create a in-person infidelity support group in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Story 1-2. Please reply if you are interested in meeting in person. Infidelity can be extremely traumatic, but unlike other victims of crime, war, or drugs, we don't have access to support groups in the real world. Therapists can be helpful, but it's a one-way conversation. I want a two-way conversation over a beer or some other activity. Below is a synopsis of my story. Me, 41 meters, divorced my wife 6 years ago due to infidelity on her part. We have 2 young daughters. 6 months ago she tried to reconciliate with the goal of getting back together. I wasn't really interested in reconciliation. Personally, I was more interested in closure and getting to the truth of what happened in the past. During the reconciliation process I was very cool-headed, compassionate, but adamant that the only way I would consider getting back together is if there was full disclosure of the events that led up to the affair. She was very reluctant, not seeing how this would help the process. We were seeing a couples counselor at the time, and with the therapist's support of my view and along with the literature I read and provided regarding surviving affairs, I was able to convince her to tell the truth about what happened. She did the big reveal during our 3rd therapy session. What I heard about her affair and how it came about shocked me to my core. The only way I could describe it is as though a bomb had exploded in the room and I could barely hear her talking through the ringing in my ears. Hearing how her affair was so brazenly consummated immediately had me questioning her about other periods in our relationship when I know she had the opportunity to cheat but always swore up and down they were just friends. Turns out she had at least 2 additional affairs in the past. One of the main reasons I was open to the reconciliation process was because the relationship ended without closure. I didn't understand what happened and why she did what she did. Because closure was my main goal, I managed to keep a cool head, and we had several one-on-one meetings in which she answered my questions and I let her know how her actions hurt me and how they affected my life. We never ended up reconciling, which is fine with me, but at least I got some closure. Nevertheless, I still find myself listening to other infidelity stories and relationship dynamics content, all trying to help me figure out how I ended up in this position. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1. So I am not a therapist but have worked in workshops before, and normally we discourage people who are victims of infidelity from meeting in person without a group or a therapist there to help lead and keep the group focused. The issue seems to be that people who suffer from infidelity can create bonds through trauma, and it can lead to unhealthy attachments, and even worse, if one person does one or later on, this bond can make it harder to heal. I would recommend talking to your local therapists and seeing if there are support groups of victims of infidelity, and work that way and not private one-on-one events. I am sorry you have been hurt to the core, but I hope you can find healing in your future and that the choices your partner made were not your choices. There are many factors that played into infidelity, but the choice is still always on the WP. Keep working on becoming a better you and healing from this trauma. Answer. I appreciate your input. I see what you are saying. Being a victim of infidelity can make you very angry and can bring about a lot of hate and resentment. If one group member is done with cheaters, it can make it very uncomfortable for another group member that wants to consider reconciliation. I have been in both camps myself. Also, if it is a co-ed group, the discussion of personal trauma may create unhealthy attachments with the opposite time rebound relationships. I will take your advice and reach out to my therapist and find out if there is a guided support group. However, if I can't find a guided support group, I will probably still go ahead and try to get a group of men who have gone through this process. I think men have a harder time processing the feelings of infidelity. Being betrayed by our spouse feels so humiliating, it's hard to discuss with family and friends. Also, non-victims don't necessarily understand the attachment you still feel to the person who betrayed you. Hanging out with other men who have gone through the process just seems like it would feel refreshing, even if we don't discuss what happened. Story 2-2. Sister's infidelity infuriated me, then a confession. This past weekend I found out that my sister had an affair and her marriage is essentially over. She and her husband had been having problems for a while, but I just found out that she had an affair. Having been cheated on by my ex-wife, I am simply disgusted. Her husband is an amazing person, who stuck by her side through some of the worst of her prescription drug addiction. He could have left her then and nobody in my family would have blamed him one bit. She's better now to everyone's knowledge, thanks in large part to her husband. It was so upsetting to hear not only that she had an affair, but that she moved in with her partner. She knows what cheating does to a person because I told her my whole story last summer when my own marriage finally fell apart. It bothers me to the point where I don't even want to speak or interact with my sister for the foreseeable future. Then as I am venting to my girlfriend about all this, she tells me that she cheated on her first serious boyfriend. Said he wouldn't do anything physical for almost 2 years and made out with a random guy when she went to a bar with friends. She felt bad about it and broke up with him days later. So now I'm questioning my own relationship. After my ex-wife left me last summer, I promised myself that I would never put up with cheating again. I've been having my own issues with performing in bed lately due to depression. I had been feeling better lately and this news sent me backwards. I feel like if I can't get my libido back in order, my girlfriend is just going to cheat on me and I can't go through that again. Sorry for the rant, but my counseling appointment isn't for another couple weeks. Dry humor. Redditors' reactions. Redditor 1, have a serious discussion with your GF. Tell her your story if you haven't already and let her know that finding out about your sister cheating is affecting you. Tell her you appreciate her honesty and that you accept that she may have made a mistake when she was younger. Tell her that if she ever gets to the point of wanting to cheat on you, that you will have much more respect for her breaking things off with you before she acts on her urge to cheat than afterwards. Let her know that cheating is a deal breaker for you. Gauge her reactions and move ahead accordingly. Only you can properly tell if it is a relationship worth continuing. Myself, I would continue but keep an eye out for the warning signs. Redditor follow-up, Satman 337. You give very sage advice. I hope OP uses it as it explains his history and sets boundaries too. Redditor 2, addicts have impulse control issues. She probably traded one high for another. Hope she stays sober. You should vet the new guy thoroughly and make sure he isn't a party type. As for your GF, it seems like she was in a unique dead bedroom situation. Hope you can help Bill. Redditor 3, I think the fact that your girlfriend told you about it tells you she trusts you won't look at her differently because of something she did probably years ago, and that it's not something that is part of her baseline personality to just cheat on people for fun. She said she spent 2 years in a sexless, probably loveless relationship. I don't think it's fair to compare that relationship to yours if there's no real reason to other than she made out with a random guy after already checking out of a relationship she was probably gonna end anyway. Does that make what she did right? No. Does that make her a bad person and likely to do it again? Of course not. You need to decide whether you trust her or not, because at the end of the day, that's what matters here. Has she given you any other reason not to besides a stupid thing she did once in the past? If yes, then consider being on your own for a while. If not, well then where's the issue? Redditor 4, your brother-in-law will have a much happier and better life without her. I would say if you don't already, start going to the gym. It really helped me through my divorce, but I had always worked out. Got all my aggression out and I stopped being the president of the He-Man Women Haters Club. Lol. Little Rascals reference. Redditor 5, honestly I would dump both. First, your sister is toxic and toxic people bring that into your life. I would think long and hard about the girlfriend too. Trust me, if you want to avoid being cheated on, you need to be ruthless about red flags. The fact that she didn't tell you knowing your history, not a good sign. If she was unhappy, she should have broken up with the guy. I would at least want to know how this won't happen again. Redditor 6, I completely understand where you're coming from. Only you can make the decision about whether to stay with your GF or not. The fact that she came clean tells me she's honest and trying to be open. I do believe people can change and do something and realize they would never want to do that again. I don't think you should stay with someone who cheated on you because it's just impossible to regain the trust, but I think it's possible they can go on and have future relationships where they don't cheat if they do the work. I say this because I've cheated before and have never done it since. I was very young, early 20s, and in a terrible relationship. He cheated on me several times and was an abusive alcoholic. We broke up and I hooked up with someone that same night. The thing is, we broke up and got back together all the time, and I was really using this as an exit. We still lived together and a few days later got back together. I felt terrible and didn't tell him, but eventually did. Eventually I got out of the relationship because it was incredibly toxic. Either way I felt awful, and the way I felt after doing it was actually pretty traumatic for me. I had been cheated on by him and a prior boyfriend, so I really couldn't deal with the guilt or the memory of it. Regardless of his behavior or how bad the relationship was, there was no excuse for what I did, and I wasn't happy that I had done something like that. That decision was on me and about me, no one else. I worked hard after that on many things, and working to create healthier relationships with others and myself was one of them. I have never and would never do it again, and that incident was over 20 years ago. It was the only time I ever did it. Unfortunately, my ex-husband cheated on me after 15 years together, 10 married. So, karma, I guess? Even though all my serious prior BFs cheated on me too. I guess I just know how to pick cheaters. Either way, I'm always honest and upfront about the fact I cheated before, so if someone wants to back out right away they can. I completely understand how it may trigger someone or be a deal breaker. For me, it matters more how they talk about it. Do they make excuses? Fail to take responsibility? It sounds like it might be deal breaker for you, and that's okay. Redditor 7, they say we can't pick family. But, we can darn sure choose not to interact with them. In addiction recovery, the point is made that if a family member is toxic to your recovery, you cut them out of your life. I think the same could be said here. She is causing problems and adding to the recovery from your failed relationship. You don't need to be around that. Redditor 8, your sister has serious addiction issues she is battling. She's just traded one vice for another. It's okay to go limited contact and set strong boundaries with your family. I would then analyze your current relationship and decide if this is worth fighting for. It may be too much of a trigger in your life right now, and the circumstances with your own struggles don't make it easier. Consider being single a while to properly heal and seek out a healthier partner. Redditor 9, I'm a pretty big believer in the adage, once a cheater, always a cheater. Really hope this isn't true of your GF. I would be looking at protecting your heart and mind somehow. Redditor 10, you should have a discussion with your GF and let her know how you feel. To me it sounds like she was in a DB and had already checked out of the relationship. Does that make it right? No, it doesn't.
Thank you for watching. Comment what do you think about this situation. Don't forget to like and subscribe.